It is bad news for parents. Adults are far worse at telling when a child is lying than thought researchers have found. In fact, you may as well guess. They concluded researchers discovered on average adults were able to distinguish truth from lies 54% of the time, making them only slightly more successful than chance. The major new study into children and lying builds on previous studies that have shown that children learn to lie from the age of 2. The University of California, Irvine team analyzed the results of 45 experiments into detecting deception in children up to the age of 15. They involved almost 8,000 adult judges, many of them parents, and almost 2,000 children. They found that on average adults were able to distinguish truth from lies 54% of the time. One reason for the poor performance is simply that children looked guilty even if they weren't, the team said. Adults view behaviors such as gaze aversion, fidgeting, nervousness, incoherent responses, and facial expressions as being indicative of someone lying. They wrote in the journal Law and Human Behavior. According to the Times, these often mean different things, particularly in young children. For instance, they say gaze aversion is commonly viewed as a sign of deception in adults, yet gaze aversion in children can occur when tasks are particularly difficult. In other words, the cues on which adults rely to evaluate honesty often are not valid. There are reasons to suspect that children's more limited cognitive and deceptive abilities would render their true and false statements more easily discernible. They write, in a separate study, researchers investigated the ways in which a child's moral understanding develops, finding their perception of truth and lies changes over time. While a young child may view these concepts darkly, with dishonesty always seen as bad, an older child is likely to have a more nuanced view and will consider the intended outcome of a situation. Researchers from McGill University analyzed the behavior of nearly 100 children between the ages of 6 and 12. The children were each shown a series of short videos featuring childlike puppets which either told the truth or lied, and the outcome of these decisions varied. In some scenarios, telling a lie would cause harm to another character, while in others, a lie intended to help someone else would have a negative outcome for the speaker. The researchers also showed videos of puppets telling different truths, including tattling, highlighting how these can harm someone as well. Then, the kids were asked to decide if the characters were being honest or deceitful, and choose whether those particular behaviors should be rewarded or punished. Looking at how children see honesty and deceit as a way of gaining insight into different stages of moral and social development, said Victoria Tower, a Canada research chair in McGill's Department of Educational and Counseling Psychology. Children get a lot of messages from their parents saying that lying is always bad, but at the same time they see their parents telling white lies to make life easier. Depending on their age, this is likely to be a bit confusing for children. We were interested in gaining a more nuanced picture of children's perceptions of truth and lies, since not all lies have negative consequences for the other person, and not all truths have positive consequences for someone else. We were curious to know at what age children start to understand this. Overall, the children were easily able to distinguish between truth and lies, regardless of age, in deciding which behaviors to reward or condemn. However, the researchers noted two significant differences among the age groups when assessing a false confession scenario in which a character would claim responsibility for another character's misdeed to spare the real perpetrator. The younger children were more likely to view this as negative behavior than older kids. A similar trend was seen in the case of tattling. While younger children were less concerned with the negative consequences of truth-telling, older children were often conflicted. What we were seeing is children's confusion around particular kinds of truths and lies, says Shanna Mary Williams. Younger children see things more starkly. Truths are good and lies are bad. But by the time they are 10 to 12 years old, children become more aware that truth and lies are less binary. The older they are, the more interested children are in the consequences of these actions. They are also more able to start looking at the intentions behind the speech. Younger children may make their decisions based on what they are told by parents and caregivers, reflecting a black and white view of lies and truth. As children get older, they may become more concerned with how these decisions will affect others and how certain truths might be perceived by their peers, as in the case of tattling.